And the Oscar goes to?
Spirited Away.
Toy Story 4.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, one of the most controversial categories of the Academy's history. But before we get into that, we need to set the stage. The Oscars celebrated animated films decades before its official category was ever created. In 1937, Disney's Snow White became the first animated film to be nominated for an Oscar. It lost in the category of Best Original Score, but 3 years later, the song When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio won Best Original Song. Disney continued to find scattered success in the music categories, but then in 1992, Beauty and the Beast became the first and one of only 3 animated films to be nominated in the Academy's top category, Best Picture.
Bonjour! 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 Hello!
It was during the 90s, dubbed the Disney Renaissance, that Hollywood began taking animation more seriously, and animated films became more competitive at the Oscars.
Thank you, members of the Academy, for inviting us to the party by creating this category to begin with.
Cut to 2000. The Academy announces a new category for animation. Some saw it as a reflection of the growing acceptance of animation as a valid form of filmmaking. Others saw it as a consolation prize and a way to separate animation from mainstream filmmaking. Animated films could still compete in other categories, but only 2 more films, Pixar's Toy Story 3 and Up, broke into Best Picture.
And the Oscar goes to Shrek.
And despite all of its influence, Disney ironically didn't even win the very first Oscar for Best Animated Feature. It was DreamWorks' Shrek, the satirical anti-Disney film that made filmmaking history.
Please keep up on the grass, shine your shoes, wipe your face.
Since then, Disney and Pixar have won the majority of the Oscars for Best Animated Feature. Pixar's won 11. Some critics and animators worry Disney's domination perpetuates the stereotype that animation is a children's genre rather than a serious filmmaking craft, but other recent nominees have broken that mold.
En lille smule længere op. Meget lidt.
Flee is an animated documentary that tells the story of Afghan refugee Amin Nawabi. It uses animation to illustrate war and depict emotional trauma. And the Danish-made movie made history this year as a nominee for Best Animated Feature, International Film, and Documentary.
Her starter jo en historie.
Flee is competing against 4 children's films, 3 of which are from Disney. But 20 years after the Oscar for Animated Film was first awarded, it's starting more conversations about the greater potentials of animation. Mendoza, Newsy.